Australia's telecommunications regulator has failed to collect basic data on how companies are blocking phones following the 3G network shutdown. Separate data obtained by network experts and the ABC has found inconsistencies in how telcos are blocking phones from their networks, with experts saying their processes are extremely flawed. Well, James Parker is an IT networking expert who's been advocating for consumers following the 3G shutdown. He joins us now from our Brisbane studio. James, hi there. It might be useful, actually, if we go back a step first and explain how it happened and what the government intervention about blocking phones has meant.
Yeah, so it goes back to, obviously this 3G shutdown was October of last year, but sort of towards the end of August, the then minister issued a direction that would require the telcos to block phones if the telcos believe that phone can't call 000. And then there was a very quick 2-week public consultation with the ACMA. And then, in late September, it was determined that the telcos would have to block phones if they think it can't call 000. And Telstra customers got about half a business day's notice on the Friday the 25th of October that their phone would be blocked on Monday the 28th. And so this rush blocking has resulted in also phones that can call 000 and 4G being blocked, but also phones that would be a safety issue being blocked. That's ultimately what's gone on. Right.
And is there data on this? I mean, do the telcos tell people? Do they know if their phone's going to go off?
Yeah, so the people were given some notices, although Telstra customers were given very late notice. And so people's phones have been blocked, but now that 3G is off, people still have 4G phones that were blocked, but they can still call 000 on them. Phones that require 3G for 000 now just get stuck on calling. And so when you go to the telcos and you complain that, hey, I've got a 4G or 5G device that actually works perfectly on 4G, including for 000, they won't provide an explanation as to why they blocked that device. And I have a phone that is Vodafone says is perfectly compatible and perfectly supported, that is blocked by both Telstra and Optus, even though that phone made 000 calls on 4G on both networks prior to shutdown and can do now. And if a tourist was using that phone, even if they're using an international SIM, they get off the plane and their phone is blocked by Telstra and Optus as well. So we're also blocking the phones used by tourists with this blocking method because there's no real accuracy with what they've done here.
I know you gave evidence to a Senate inquiry. You've given many submissions about this subject. What is it that you are trying to get across, and what hasn't been done that needs doing?
Well, what there should have been prior to shutdown is there should have been a public 000 test line that somebody can take any device purchased from any provider and test it and confirm that it works. Equally, the telcos are blocking phones that can call 000. They're also blocking phones that they say they're not blocking phones that are officially supported that cannot call 000. I have many devices the telcos say are perfectly fine that cannot call 000, though that make and model is supposedly generally compatible, because this is a software issue, this isn't a hardware issue. So the telcos should really have to be forced to publish a list. It shouldn't take Julian and the ABC and myself to data mine the telco checkers to publish a website about, is this phone blocked? It should be public transparency. Vodafone has no tool, and there's no explanation for what's blocked, why they blocked it, and the call volumes and criteria that they used to block the phone. And I think if that information was transparent, and if there's a public 000 test, it would reveal very clearly that the telcos have failed to do proper analysis and have made a lot of assumptions and shortcuts, especially for phones that they didn't sell or that their partners didn't sell.
What's the regulator saying about it?
Well, the regulator, I have a Change.org petition about this issue, and I've had numerous petition signers contact the ACMA complaining about it, and they've pretty much all been given copy-pasted the same general boilerplate response, which is true for only a very small specific subset of devices, disproportionately phones sold by Vodafone. There are phones that if you put a Vodafone SIM in the phone, it will lose the ability to do 000, but it might work with the software for Optus or Telstra. But there are brand new 4G and 5G devices that use global international calling standards that work perfectly on every network, including for 000, that the ACMA is using that explanation for. And so I made a submission to the ACMA. They had a compliance priority submission earlier this year, so I made a 19-page submission to that compliance priority submission, sort of raising some of these issues, and including that there's still some standardisation issues by Telstra that they haven't fixed. They had a major compatibility issue, which they only fixed quietly this year, which meant they didn't support the most widely used global standards for calling. And so the ACMA is not being proactive. There was a 5th February Senate hearing with the ACMA, and they were asked some very probing questions by some senators about that. They seems to be letting the telcos do what they want without really scrutinising it. And it does seem to be there's a lack of analysis here and a lack of regulation, unfortunately. More than happy to speak with the ACMA, as I said in my letter, with the compliance priority submission, but this is something that actually needs people that know what they're talking about to actually put some pressure on the telcos to ensure that they're not blocking people's phones. People have phones that they bought 12 months before switch off and found them blocked. Maybe they weren't blocked on Vodafone because Vodafone had better real-world data, but there's just no consistency and there's no transparency with any of this.
And I know there's a concern as well, James, about conflict of interest. How does that work?
Well, you know, I have a phone that was on Optus's support list, and Optus and Telstra says is both supported for 000, but Optus have blocked the version I have because the version I have was sold by Telstra, and the serial number, the first 8 digits of the serial number, is slightly different. Even though the phone hardware-wise and software-wise is exactly the same, Optus have blocked it for all services. Optus and my provider won't give an explanation as to why they blocked the phone. It seems that phones that were more popular, that made more historical 000 calls, were not blocked, and those that are less common or less popular due to a lack of good data were blocked, even though they can still call 000. And the telcos know that they're blocking phones in error because when a phone calls 000, which people shouldn't test call, there's no test process, but the full serial number of the phone is sent to the network. So if the telcos bothered to check their logs, they would find that they're blocking phones in error, but they're not seemingly wanting to do anything about it and provide very cagey answers at the Senate hearing on the 5th of February this year. They were even asked directly why Optus was asked why they're blocking officially compatible phones if they were sold by Telstra. And we really need a public 000 test to sort of fix this issue. An automated system that allows people to confirm if their phone works or not. Again, because you can connect with phones that the telcos say are officially supported that cannot call 000 because they've failed to do the proper analysis.
It is a minefield. James, thanks for explaining it all to us. James Parker there.
No worries. Thank you for your time.